Before there were coins in pockets, bank vaults, or digital ledgers, there was only the human hand. Imagine a vast, empty, white landscape. A single figure walks, dragging a heavy wooden crate filled with fresh apples. He is tired. He needs warm boots for the winter. Soon, he encounters another traveler, who carries a pair of sturdy leather boots. This seems simple. A trade should happen here. But there is a silent, invisible barrier between them. The bootmaker does not want apples. He wants wheat. If the apple grower wants the boots, he must first find someone with wheat who wants apples. He must trade his apples for wheat, carry the heavy grains back to the bootmaker, and hope the boots have not been traded away to someone else. The stickman sits on his crate of apples, his head resting in his hands. The boots walk away. Under this primitive system, society cannot grow. It is too slow. It is too heavy. People must spend their entire lives producing everything they need themselves, their own food, their own shelter, their own clothes, because trading for them is a logistical nightmare. We are trapped by the physical limits of our own goods. We need a tool to unlock human potential. We need an intermediate step. To escape this trap, humanity made a collective leap of faith. We stopped looking for a direct swap. Instead, we looked for a universal middleman. The stickman stands on the white canvas. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a single, small, polished cowrie shell. He holds it up to the light. It has no practical use. You cannot eat it. You cannot wear it. It cannot keep you warm. Yet, the stickman hands the shell to the bootmaker. This time, the bootmaker accepts it and hands over the boots. Why does this transaction work? Because the bootmaker knows that tomorrow he can take that same tiny shell and give it to a farmer for wheat. The shell is not valuable because of what it is. It is valuable because of what it represents, a universal promise. In different corners of the world, different objects became this promise. In dry inland empires, it was blocks of compressed salt. In the Americas, cocoa beans. In Europe, cattle and grain. But as societies expanded, these early forms of money met their natural limits. The stickman carries a sack of salt, but a sudden rainstorm turns his wealth into a puddle of gray mud. He tries to save his cocoa beans, but they rot in the damp air. He tries to count his cattle, but they require food. They get sick, and they walk away. We needed something that did not decay, something scarce, uniform, and indestructible. We dug into the earth and pulled out shiny, heavy metals, bronze, silver, and gold. The stickman now holds a raw, jagged lump of gold. It does not rust. It does not burn. But raw metal brings a new kind of friction. The stickman approaches a merchant to buy a loaf of bread. The merchant does not simply take the gold. Instead, he pulls out a brass scale and a black touchstone. He carefully chips off a piece of the stickman's metal, weighs it, and rubs it against the stone to test its purity. Every single transaction is a tense negotiation of chemistry and weight. Trade is safe, but it is slow and filled with suspicion. Around 600 BC, in the ancient kingdom of Lydia, a solution emerges. A heavy iron hammer strikes down onto a piece of gold. The stickman holds up a perfect, flat, silver disc. Stamped into its surface is the roaring face of a lion, the symbol of the king. This stamp changes everything. It is a visual declaration of trust. The ruler of the land says, "This coin contains exactly 8 grams of silver. Have tested it. I have weighed it. My armies stand behind this stamp. The scale is packed away." The merchant no longer questions the metal. The stickman simply hands over the coin, and the bread is exchanged in a second. With standardized coinage, commerce moves at a speed never seen before. Markets flourish. Empires are funded. Yet, as the stickman's wealth grows, his pockets grow heavy. A bag of silver clinks loudly, attracting thieves. A cart filled with chests of gold moves slowly along muddy roads. The very weight of metal is now the barrier to progress. In medieval China and later in Europe, merchants looked for a way to move wealth without moving metal. They turned to the goldsmiths, who possessed secure stone vaults and armed guards. The stickman drags his heavy chest of gold to a high wooden counter. He pushes it across to the goldsmith. The goldsmith locks the chest in the dark vault and hands the stickman a simple, lightweight slip of paper. On the paper, the goldsmith writes, "The bearer of this note may reclaim 100 gold coins from my vault at any time." The stickman holds the light paper note. It weighs almost nothing. When he goes to buy a merchant ship, he does not retrieve his gold. He simply hands the paper note to the shipbuilder. The shipbuilder looks at the signature, trusts the goldsmith's reputation, and accepts the paper. The physical gold remains deep inside the dark stone vault, undisturbed. The paper note has become the money. Governments quickly notice this efficiency and take control of the printing presses. For centuries, paper money remains tied to gold. A citizen could walk into a bank, hand over a bill, and receive physical metal. But in 1971, the modern world takes its boldest step yet. The global financial system abandons the gold standard completely. The stickman holds a modern paper bill. He turns it over. There is no gold waiting for him in a vault. The paper is valuable simply because we all agree it is. It is fiat, money supported entirely by the stability of the state and the shared belief of millions of strangers. In our time, even the paper is beginning to disappear. The physical world is fading from the equation of trade. The stickman stands before a massive, silent, white space. He reaches into his pocket, but there are no heavy coins, no pouches of shells, and no paper bills. He pulls out a small, black, plastic rectangle. He taps the card against an invisible terminal. A soft, high-pitched beep sounds. Deep inside a subterranean server farm, a single digit in a database changes from a 0 to a 1. Another digit elsewhere drops. Money has shed its physical skin entirely. It has returned to its purest state, information. It is a collective, digital ledger of who has contributed what to society and who is owed in return. From heavy bags of wheat to small shelves on a beach, to stamped metal, to paper receipts, and finally to invisible electric charges moving through silicon chips at the speed of light. The objects we use have changed, but the core engine of money has never changed. For a single day, that engine is trust. Without trust, gold is just heavy dirt. Paper is just dried wood pulp. Digital screens are just glowing glass. The stickman stands alone on the infinite white canvas. He looks down at his empty, open hands. He looks up at the viewer. He slowly closes his fist, holding nothing at all. Yet, because of our shared belief, he holds everything.